back here shortly." They went and found a colt outside in the street tied at its doorway. As they untied it, some people standing there asked, "What are you doing untying that colt?" They answered it as Jesus had told them to, and the people let them go. When they brought the colt to Jesus and threw their cloaks over it, he sat on it. Many people spread their cloaks on the road, while others spread branches they had cut in the fields. Those who went ahead and those who followed shouted, "Hosanna! Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. Blessed is the coming kingdom of our father David. Hosanna in the highest heaven." Jesus entered Jerusalem and went into the temple courts. He looked around at everything, but since it was already late, he went out to Bethany with the 12.
Brilliant. Thanks, Matthew. So I thought we'd think for a couple of minutes about that story, but I wanted to talk about something else, which is the sort of angle we thought we'd look at this from this morning particularly. We had a really special birthday in our house this week because Hannah was 17, which was fantastic. And as everyone knows, when you're 17, one of the things that you have to do, it's very exciting, is you can learn to drive. So you have to familiarise yourself with the highway code. And you know how you do your theory tests and you have to learn lots of different road signs and what they mean. And I thought we might be able to help Hannah this morning and just walk through a couple of road signs this morning, and we'll have a look at them. And you might be able to help me work out what they mean. And then we're going to go and talk about something else, some other signs. So we'll start with a couple of easy ones, shall we, first? So what does this one mean? Anyone? Roadworks. Yeah, that's right. So we might see some of those. The next one is slippery road. Yeah, slow down and be cautious. The next one is Trevor at heart. No? What's it mean? No through road. Yeah, cul-de-sac. Here's another one which we may be familiar with. Means brick, suddenly. Well, sort of. The next one, steep hill. I remember the first time we came to Croydon, we came off the M25 and we drove up and we got to this roundabout with an Ann Summer shop, which isn't very classy, very sorry. We weren't impressed, but we thought we'll still go and meet the Deacons and Selston. And then we took the fourth exit. And there's this thing called Succombs Hill. We thought, my goodness, will we ever get out of here alive? We've got to come back down this. So yeah, steep hill. This is another one which perplexes me, the next one. Oh my gosh, what does this mean? What do you do? I mean, does this just mean put your foot down and take your chances? Do you know what I mean? I don't know what you're supposed to do with that information. And then we've just got a few more. Next one. Wild animals crossing. What we got next? They get a bit more bizarre. Anyone know what this one is? It's two-way traffic coming across a one-way road. If you can compute all of that information as quickly as you need to. Now we've got two more. This one is dangerous. I don't know. It's slow-moving military vehicles. Probably means panic. And then the last one. I've never seen this before. Have you seen this?
Risk of grounding.
Pardon? Yeah, or risk of grounding on a humpback bridge. Yes, well done. Respect. Anyway, so these are signs that we might see in the day-to-day, but there are two other signs which I want to talk about this morning. And I think that these signs are the key to support this kind of understanding that Matthew gave to us a minute or two ago. I have the picture of these next two signs now. So it's a horse and a donkey. And I think one of the ways that you think about Palm Sunday story is what's the difference between horses and donkeys? And maybe I could help us think about it like this. If you ever go into London and you are turning around London, you might see different big statues of famous people in some of the places that you go to, stations that you come out of around the city. So if you go to the Houses of Parliament, for example, you will see, thank you Ross, this picture of King Richard, Richard the Lionheart. a king of England and maker of brie, as some of us will know. So what's interesting, note what you see there about Richard, or if you go to Hyde Park Corner, you might see this picture of the Duke of Wellington. We've got a few more coming up. Or if you go to Charing Cross, you might see this picture of Charles I. And I think actually that one, we might have gone through two of them, or maybe I didn't put them on properly. This is actually a picture there of Queen Elizabeth in Windsor Great Park. And actually, have you ever noticed, in quite a few places, it's not just London, quite a few places when you go and you visit, you always see, as someone I heard put it recently, you always see some dude on a horse. Have you noticed that? You always see someone famous and someone impressive who's riding a horse. And it's not just London. So if you go to Paris, you see a picture of Joan of Arc on the Rue de Rivoli, and she's on a horse. If you went to Washington, there's a picture of George Washington outside the National Cathedral. And you might be looking at these pictures, and have you ever thought, why do they always ride horses? Why is it that you always see these really impressive people riding a horse? And the answer is sort of, and because they always have. They've always done it that way. So horses have always had like an association with kings and with queens. And it was that way down through history, and it was that way in the Bible as well. And what's really interesting is, when you look at the Bible, and when you go back and you look at the Old Testament, you find that when there's a horse in the Bible, it's nearly always a war horse. It's nearly always a horse which is being used by someone to fight. So what's interesting is, one of the oldest stories in the Bible is the story of the Exodus. It's a story about how the people of Israel were delivered. Do you remember there's that amazing story? And they were delivered out of captivity in Egypt. And they came out of the Passover. And one of the things that happens after they've escaped is that the people of Israel sing a song. And it's really interesting how the song starts. Moses, we read this at the start of Exodus 15. Moses and the Israelites sang this song to the Lord. I will sing to the Lord, for he is highly exalted, both horse and driver. He's heralding with the sea. In other words, when the people of Israel want to say, God did good for us, God helped us defeat someone really strong and really powerful, they sing that God got rid of his horses, because horses are what kings fight. There's another one of the Psalms where you find the people of Israel, and they're talking about how much they trust God, and how much they think God's going to protect them in all the rulers, against all the rulers who are around them. And this is what they sing. They sing that some trust in chariots, and some trust in horses, but we trust in the name of the Lord our God. So this is how people in the ancient world thought about things. If you want to show you're strong, and if you want to show you're tough, you get a horse. And if you want to show that you're strong and you're tough, the last thing that you get is a donkey. Okay? Because donkeys actually aren't very impressive. You don't ride a donkey in a battle. You only have a donkey if you're on a farm, or you want someone to do some work for you. And yet, in the Old Testament, near the end of the Old Testament, you find one of the prophets, and he suggests that one day things might be done differently. And this prophet's name is Zechariah, and he wrote at a time when the people of Israel were in a really bad way. So Jerusalem's been invaded, and the people of Israel have been forced to live in exile. And Zechariah writes this poem. He makes this sort of prediction, and he says, one day, God is going to send a new deliverer. God is going to send someone who's going to rescue Israel and transform the situation. And here's what he writes in his poem. Rejoice greatly, he says, daughter Zion. Shout, daughter Jerusalem. See, your king comes to you, righteous and victorious, lowly, riding on a donkey, on a colt, the foal of a donkey. And I will take away the chariots from Ephraim, and the war horses from Jerusalem, and the battle bow will be broken. And he will proclaim peace to the nations. His rule will extend from sea to sea, and from the rivers to the seas of the earth. So can you think for a minute about what he's actually saying? One day, he says, all of the war horses are going to be taken away from Jerusalem. One day there's going to be a different situation when a new kind of king is going to come, and he's not going to establish his rule by winning wars or fighting battles, because he's going to be a completely different kind of king. And this morning, we're taking time to think about how he comes. One of the interesting things about Palm Sunday, we'll think about Jesus in a minute. One of the other interesting things about Palm Sunday, did you know this, is that Jesus wasn't the only person who came to Jerusalem, I think, that day. Because someone else who would have been coming to Jerusalem at around the same time is a man who crops up a few days later in the Easter story, and we might have heard of him. His name is Pontius Pilate. And Pontius Pilate was the governor, the Roman governor of Judea, the part of the world that we call Israel and Palestine now. And Pontius Pilate was in charge on behalf of the Romans of this whole area. But the thing is, Pontius Pilate didn't live most of the time in Jerusalem. He lived most of the time in a place called Caesarea, which is by the sea. But every year for Passover, Pontius Pilate went to Jerusalem. And he went to Jerusalem because he knew that that was the time of the year when there might well be trouble and problems with the Jews. So he went and he rode into Jerusalem, and he went to make sure that nobody in Jerusalem misbehaved whenever he was around in the city for Passover. And when he went into Jerusalem, he went in style. Pontius Pilate went into Jerusalem every year, and he would have gone at the front of the imperial Calvary, and he would have ridden to Jerusalem, and he would have approached the city through the west gate, and he would have made sure that everyone who saw him riding in would have found his entrance as scary as possible. Because he was coming in and he was saying, you know what, Jews, the Romans are in town for this week, and we are in charge, and if anybody steps out of line and messes with us, we are going to make life difficult for you. So think for a minute about Pontius Pilate, and he's coming to Jerusalem, and he's riding through that west gate. And then Matthew tells us that there's someone else coming to Jerusalem from the opposite direction, or Mark tells us. Matthew's Gospel tells us that Jesus came from the Mount of Olives. So Jesus would have been coming from the other side of the city. He's riding in through the east gate, and he comes in a completely different way. And he's got it all planned, and he's got it all worked out. He's made arrangements for how he's going to live. And it's almost as if Jesus has planned that what he's going to do is the very opposite of what Pilate is doing. So Pilate's on a horse, and Jesus is on a donkey. And actually, Mark tells us, if you remember what Matthew read to us, Mark tells us that he's not even on a donkey, he's on a baby donkey, which suggests something, even absurd. Can you imagine a big, grown man, and he's riding this big donkey, and his feet are like dragging along the floor of the ground? In fact, the way you could almost think about it is like this. I think Jesus, coming into Jerusalem, would have looked a little bit like this. Can you imagine how absurd I might look if I tried to ride this tricycle? And so you imagine Jesus, and he's coming in through the west gate, and he's riding like this, with the crowds that are making him. I think my hips got. And coming in through the east gate, we find none other than Pontius Pilate on his big, scary mountain bike. Thank you, Adam. Now when you look at Adam's really flash mountain bike, which is about the flashiest mountain bike you could find. And then you look at my little tricycle. It doesn't look very impressive, does it, my tricycle in comparison? I mean, it really looks like what it is. It's a toy. It looks a little bit absurd. It's not really going to impress anyone. Do you know what I mean? I think Jesus was coming in on that little donkey, and I think he was saying, in a sense, he was taking the mickey out of Pilate. I think he was saying, you know what, Pilate, you want to look really impressive, and you think you're grand, and you think you're really powerful with all your horses and all your weapons, but I'm ripping you off, actually. I'm going to make a cowardly out of you, because really your power's not built in anything, and by the end of the week, that's going to be demonstrated more than ever. And yet he doesn't come in a big, brash, bold way. He comes on this little donkey, because I think he's coming to show, you know what, I'm a completely different kind of king. I'm a completely different kind of ruler to anything that you've imagined before, like Sodom. Shall we sing again? And shall I put this down as well? How are you doing? And I can tell I see I have to bring a tricycle, which is a relief. Shall we sing again? And there's another song that we're going to sing. Shall we stand if we're able? Praise the Name, a song that we'll be singing next week as well.